type of expression that this is valid in any basis of Hilbert space. I don't need components of psi, I just use the inner product in the Hilbert space to compute what I need. In particular, this means that once I have a primitive ontology, I could even regard psi as being an abstract point in an abstract Hilbert space. And then I just need to have some other operators, such as these or these. I need to know what the right operators are, and that gives me all the information that I need. So I then have the flexibility to think of psi as either being a point in an abstract Hilbert space, or as being a wave function in the usual way. Another remark. When you have a primitive ontology, then the failure of narratability is no longer problematical, because narratability had something to do with the wave functions or state vectors at successive times being the complete description of what's going on. And of course, if you have a primitive ontology, then that's not the complete description of what's going on. So you don't expect this type of narratability to hold anyway. Next remark concerning GRW. Let's see, maybe over there. Remember the problem that I described before about GRW. Space-time picture, non-locality experiment. Okay, we have these two hypersurfaces, lambda 1, lambda 2. These regions, B1, B2, or we can identify them as being the same region by drawing it this way. Good. And then the reduced density matrix, that could be 1, 0, or it could be 1/2, 1/2, depending on which of these two hypersurfaces we consider. Now that seems problematical when you think of this reduced density matrix as being the state of that region of space at that particular time. This region of space here. Let me erase the other part. However, the problem disappears when you have a primitive ontology, because then, let's see, the problem here has something to do with the word state. The word state conveys that this is the state of affairs in this region. However, when you have a primitive ontology, then you have other variables that tell you what the state of affairs in this region is. For example, you have some matter density, or some flashes, or some particle configurations that tell you what's the matter in this region. And then it's not necessary anymore to regard the reduced density matrix associated with that region as representing what's going on in that region. You see, what's going on in that region, if the state of affairs, whether I have the pen in my right hand or in my left hand, whether that depends on how I choose this this hypersurface in the distant galaxy, that seems crazy. But if it's just if the status of this density matrix is just, it's some kind of mathematical object that you can compute, then this is not worrisome. It's not worrisome if the state of affairs is really encoded in the primitive ontology. So that's why I'm saying, when you have a primitive ontology, this problem disappears. So I would say this problem is a valid objection to GRW0, which is the GRW collapse theory without primitive ontology, but the objection evaporates in either GRWF or GRWN. Appearances.
Roddy?
Yes.
Can I just add I see how it's. I'm not familiar with a relativistic GRWM version, and I mean, I'm puzzled about how it would work here. That is, I see how it's going to work in the F version. Because we have a theorem that the flashes there are not going to depend on the position of the hypersurface elsewhere. If we were imagining a relativistic version of GRWM, then by the formulas you write down, it's going to depend on psi.
That's right. So the version of GWM that I've written down
Right.
is in fact
That is, we'll have the same problem.
is
here.
in fact, let's see, is in fact non-relativistic.
That's
Right.
It-
Right.
A relativistic version of GWM has not been worked out. There have been some ideas around about how this could be
Right.
done,
Good.
and it looks kind of promising. It has never been done.
Perfect.
Okay, so I don't want to be
I just
claiming
wanted to
that-
make sure I wasn't
Now,
misunderstanding.
it's,
So.
yeah, it
Right.
needs more than some ideas, but okay. The
Right.
paper is not written.
Right.
maybe something could be done. Let's see. Maybe it is maybe nevertheless a meaningful question in GWM in the following way. You could consider, in a non-relativistic theory, you could consider these two possibilities. In one case, they're simultaneous. In another case, one comes after the other. And then let's suppose that all the randomness comes out in such a way that here the result is up and here the result is down. And let's consider the same results over here, and then let's ask what happens in non-relativistic GWM. And then the story comes out to be the same as what I described for GWF. Good. Appearances. So here was one is a story about appearances, how or some symbolic summary of this story. And I feel there's a gap in the derivation of appearances. And the gap I feel is of the following nature. It's about the
Rudy,
following.
can you recall, because I'm tired, can you recall what was the argument?
Okay,
Oh,
the argument was decoherence will lead to a situation in which the reduced state associated with a region like a cat or like a pointer will be a mixture of quasi-classical states like a dead cat, live cat, or pointer pointing in this direction. And what the problem is, the problematical step in this reasoning, to my mind, is the one that would come after these kind of steps, namely for concluding that there is a dead cat or a live cat or a pointer pointing in this direction. The kind of reasoning, the kind of step you need for this is the following. If rho is, or maybe I should formulate it in terms of psi. No, maybe I should keep the same notation. If rho is a density matrix of a live cat, or a density matrix that is usually regarded as, everybody agrees that this is the density matrix of a live cat, then there is a live cat. I think this is a kind of step that's used somewhere in this reasoning after, let's say, okay, I agree that the reduced density matrix will look like this. What I disagree with is that this solves the problem, because once you have this mixture, actually the problem that remains already arises if there's just one term in this mixture, and it's, say, the density matrix of a live cat. Well, the density matrix of a live cat is not the same thing to me as a live cat. So I just feel that at this point, Wallace and Simpson and other Everettians are just not entitled to say, yeah, we've derived that there's a live cat. I think it's just a logical gap. I understand that it's kind of easy to miss. And this is one where, again, the primitive ontology makes a big difference. See how these things play out in SM, which is a many worlds theory with a primitive ontology. Here, in this theory, matter, let me remind you, matter is, there is matter in space, and it's continuously distributed, and here is its density function, and there are several contributions to that. There's the matter distribution of a dead cat and the matter distribution of a live cat, and I think that entitles me to say there's a dead cat and there's a live cat.
Rodney, can I ask a question about this?
Yes.